Rudy A Blends. I'm back with another video, but this time I'm going to be explaining a little bit more on my self haircut. And as you can see, I'm wearing a hat because it's been like 2 to 3 weeks I haven't been cutting my hair. Oh my gosh, can't fake this. Look at that. So all the clippers that I'm going to be using will be the Andy's Fall Shaver, the Babyless Flow Trimmer, the Babyless Flow Clipper, and the Wall Magic Clips. What you will need is 1 through 4 guards, the 1.5 guard, and the half guard. Now to start the first guideline or the first ball line, so I'm going to be leaving a harsh line, ball line. And I usually like to leave harsh lines on myself, especially when I'm cutting my own hair, because sometimes I typically don't really see from a distance, also from the lighting, that I can't really see the ball line that I left in. So I like to really just leave it a harsh line, only at the sides. At the back, typically not. At the back, I usually like to leave it somewhere of a light side, since sometimes on the back, it's a little bit more harder to fade. So obviously at the back, it'll always be more harder to fade than on the sides, just because on the hair, it grows more thicker and more darker on the back. Now we're going to use our Andy's Foil Shavers. Now I know it looks like I'm using the whole foil shaver, but I'm really not. I'm just using the corners. So a lot of barbers really don't think of this as a fading technique. In reality, when you're using the foil shaver, it's the exact same process as that, clippers or trimmers or whatever you want to use to fade. So right now, as you can see, I'm using the upside down as a foil shaver, and I'm going towards the ball line, and then afterwards I usually leave like 4 centimeters and go with the grain downwards. Now we're going to use our first guideline. We're going to do halfway open. We're going to leave like 1 inch. So at the sides, I like to leave like 1 inch, but once I'm fading at the back, I'm starting leaving my guidelines at the back, I usually leave it a little bit more bigger than usual. So for example, if the guideline on the sides is 1 inch, then on the back I do around 1.5 inches. Because remember, you have to extend more of the guideline at the back, because that's where the hair really typically you have the acceptable bone, and you just, in order to avoid looking like a chili bowl at the back, you just have to stretch out the guidelines. If you don't really stretch out your guidelines from the back, then you probably have like a nice fade on the sides, but on the back you look like you have a chili bowl. So now we're going to close the lever all the way up, all the way close, and we're just going to start fading. We're only going to be using the corners. We're not going to be using the whole blade. Now, so you might be asking like how far up do I go up? So you go halfway up towards your guideline. You don't want to go all the way up towards the guideline, because that will defeat the purpose of the halfway open. Now we're going to use the 1 guard all the way open, and we're gonna leave another 1 inch of a guideline. Now as you can see, I'm really mostly flicking the wrist out as well when I'm doing my guidelines, especially at the back, because typically I can't really see at the back because of the lighting, and especially sometimes my hair is a little bit more on the dark side. It's really hard for me to see on my guidelines. But notice right here that I'm cutting right here against the grain. So my hair grows towards the right. So in order to cut it against the grain, I have to cut it going towards the left. So whatever side your hair grows, you have to cut it on the opposite side. If not, you won't be fully cutting your hair. Now we're gonna close out the lever. So it's gonna be 1 guard closed now. We're going to be using the corners. Now notice I use it in slow motion right now. Notice how I'm really just using the corners, just tapping it slightly bit. You don't want to dig in so much hard in your haircuts, because it's a clipper, It's a clipper, you know what I'm saying? Like, just think about it as a knife. when you're cutting chicken, you don't sometimes, if it's sharp enough, if you have your clipper sharp enough, you don't really have to dig in as hard. Just let the knife do its work. So it's the exact same thing. If your clipper is sharp, then you don't have to dig in so hard. So all of my clippers are zero gapped. So it can be a fully and nice efficient cut and close cut as much as possible. But now we're gonna use it 2 guard all the way open. So as you can see that I'm going straight up. So imagine your haircut should be like a box. A cone shaped head will mostly be like if you want like a mohawk or you want a man bun, something like that, then yeah, you should probably dig in, because most people who have those type of hairstyles don't really like a box shape. But if you're just a haircut like me, just want to put some styling product on the top, style it like spiky up, or you want to have like a comb over on the sides or anything like that, like a crop top, then yeah, your goal should be like a box shaped. You don't want to dig in. So in order to avoid digging in, you just go straight up and use the butt of the heel just like I showed you. So now we're going to be using the 2 guard close, and we're going to go underneath the 2 guard open. We're not going to pass the 2 guard open. We're going to go underneath the 2 guard open. So it's be the exact same process from the 1 open to the 1 close. Now we're going to be using our 1.5 guard open. And as you can see, I'm pointing out which line we're going to take out. So in case you might not see it on yours, you're going to take out the line or the guideline from the 1 from the 2. So you're going to take out the line between the 1 and the 2. That's the guideline you're going to take out. Now on some hairs, when you close the guard too close, you might already faded your guideline. So if you don't really have your guideline anymore, if you lost it, then you just go underneath the 2 guard open. So everything we're doing, we're fading, and now obviously, like I said before, as we're fading, we're only using the corners. We're not going to use the whole thing up. So now as you can see, I close the guard up all the way. So it's going to be 1.5 open and 1.5 close. The exact same process, the exact same thing. Now you can find all these tools at Amazon. The 1.5 guard you can find it at Amazon. The 0 guard you can have everything on Amazon. If you're just a beginner, or you just somebody who just want to cut your hair, for the holidays that's coming in, and Magic Clips is actually a very good brand, and it's very affordable. It's like $80. It's really not that much, and it really dures. It lasts a long time. Now we're gonna use our 1 guard open, and as you can see, the more higher I go up, the more I tilt the blade. So before I would use, for example, 3 or 4 of the teeth of the blade, and now I'm only using 1 or 2 teeth of the blade. So notice I'm taking the same guideline from the 1 and from the 2. I am taking the same guideline from the 1 and from the 2. Like I said before, my hair typically is a little bit harder to fade because it's also so dark, and I have a lot of dense spots and a lot of like little patches. So that's what I always have to do. So now I'm going to be using my half guard. So in order to take out, it's going to be all the way close, halfway, and open. That's all the 3 notches that you need. And you're going to take out this specific line, the second guideline that we just left off. So we're going to go lever close, then halfway, and then open. Now notice right here, I'm using the down fade technique also. So usually when you're fading down, you really just fade a little bit more. I want to say a little bit more faster, but also more. You avoid going with the fade higher than what's really supposed to be. And as you can see, the more I go towards my parietal ridge, the more I'm really just tilting the clipper. Really trying to avoid to use the whole blade. Just really trying to use the 1 or 2 teeth of the blade, and just going straight up in flicking motions. So and sometimes really the flicking motion, flicking your wrist on cutting your hair doesn't really necessarily sometimes work. It really just depends. So on some areas, my bone on the sides really just pop out, for example. So if I'm flicking the wrist, I'm really not cutting the hair. I'm just playing with the bone. So I will have to go like straight up or dig in a little bit than usual. But when I dig in, I don't really dig in as hard as y'all people think. I know right here in the video probably looks like, man, but boom, just digging in like trying to cut the grass or something. No, not necessarily. I'm just really just going up nice and smoothly. Now we're gonna use our 4 guard all the way open. So we went all the way to the 2 guard all the way open. So now we're gonna work all the way back down. So basically you can say like a sandwich, you know what I'm saying? So now with this 4 guard, you can see I did it on real time. So I'm going straight up just by the shape of my head. So right there, I usually like to leave it dark, specifically so I can hide my little occipital bone. So I like to go straight up. And as you can see, look at that. I'm just going straight up. Blah, boom. Slow motion, taking my nice time, going nice and smooth, straight up. Now, some of y'all be asking, like, what about a little bit on top of it? So what I like to do is just basically freehand and use the raking method. So basically the raking method, I use the tips of the guard and just round my head. So right here, as you can see, boom, I'm using the tips of the guard. I am not digging in whatsoever. I'm just leaving whatever the guard is touching to cut the hair. I'm not digging in. Whatever the hair touched the guard and it's cutting, that's the only thing that's gonna cut. I'm not gonna cut nothing other than that. But when you're using this method, I don't really go straight up. I really just go round and really just between the shape of my head or whatever head shape you really just have. So now, since we're still using the guard, the 4 guard, but now we're just gonna go straight up and blend. So we're gonna go use straight up and use some of the raking methods, and just remember straight up so you can have your head shape like a box shape of the haircut. Now we're gonna move in with our lineup or our edge ups. So as you can see on mine, I really have a very light area of hair. So you don't really want to push it back. You really just want to cut the hair. That's the baby hairs. So what you want to do is, whatever hair you have, you want to lift it up. And you want to see exactly where it grows from. So you're going to see exactly from the starter point, and you're going to cut from the starter point. So, but if you want some bangs, then by all means, just cut the bangs and whatever desire you feel like. But on mine, I'm really just cutting from the starting point wherever my hair grows, so I can have a nice crispy line, but natural line as much as possible. And also, before you start doing your lineup, what you want to do is look straight in the mirror, put your head down, and once you put it down, then you're gonna start lining yourself up from there. That way, you can actually see that, okay, this is actually where I'm looking straight. So if I mess up, and I look up, I know this is crooked from that. But now, what I really like to do, I really like to do the edge up first and then go back and do just detail work and just perfect the blend. Just look for a lot of spots that you missed, or look for a lot of spots that needs a little bit more touching. So people here tends to get lost, and right here is different for a lot of people. My hair is a little bit more difficult because I have a lot of patches. So I tend to detail work a lot, so I can make it seem that, oh, you know, my hair doesn't really have patches. That's how it naturally is. You know, it looks full, but in reality it's really not full. It just have a lot of little bald spots. But so you basically just repeat the steps all over again and just see which sides needs a little bit more touching and which sides it doesn't. Now what I'm gonna do is just cut the top of my hair, just a little trim with some little scissors. So what I like to do is from the front of my forehead, grab a piece of hair and cut a piece of hair, and then take it all the way towards back, slowly back, and use that same guideline that I left from cutting from the front of my head all the way to the back. Now right here, you want to really be careful in case you have some sharp scissors. In my occasion, I do have some sharp scissors, so I really sometimes be taking it very slow. I have had cases where I just cut myself on the tips of my fingers, and when them shears be sharp, man, they be nicking you sometimes. Now we're gonna add a little bit of bite texture, and when I do this, I'm really just adding texture, and I'm really just cutting the tips of the tips. So now we're gonna add a little bit of styling product, and what I like to use is a product named Billy. That's $20 right there. But if you want something a little bit more cheaper, then I recommend Suavecito. Suavecito is a very good, nice and affordable brand to style. It's very nice pomade. I really don't like putting gel on. I like to put more of a pomade, make it more natural and simple. But yeah, so as you can see, boom, this is the finished product going in. So right there, as you can see, I have a lot of bald spots, but I did as much as possible to hide it, and this side looks very full. That's my good side, as you can see. But look at that, we're gonna do a 360 and boom. Looking good, man. Looking real good. That's the end of the cut. This is Rudy A. Blends. If you found this video helpful, make sure you subscribe. As soon as I hit 50 subscribers on YouTube, I'll be doing $100 giveaway.